Hi, everybody. I've had people contact me about a gun cleaning solvent that I use quite a bit that's called Eds Red. I thought I'd take a little bit of time this morning and show you how I mix this stuff up. I was at Cabela's the other day and was looking at their gun solvents and their cleaning supplies, and I realized why I like this stuff. The stuff you buy in sporting goods stores is just crazy expensive, and as far as I'm concerned, it really doesn't do that good a job. This stuff really does. I still like Hops number 9, but the only reason I like that is I think it makes a really good cologne. I love the way that stuff smells, and I wear it behind my ear every once in a while because it just smells so good. But other than that, I think this stuff does a lot better job cleaning. So anyway, what we have is the main ingredients of it is Dextron 3 automatic 2 automatic transmission fluid, kerosene, low odor mineral spirits, and acetone. The kerosene isn't the kerosene you get at filling stations where they go out and pump it out of a drum. That's a different kerosene. It's got acids in it. This is the low dye and the low odor stuff that you buy at hardware stores for space heaters and lamps. That's what you need to get. So anyway, what we've done is we've poured equal amounts into each of these cups. So it's just equal amounts. So and then we're going to use it. We're going to mix it into a ball jar. Is what we're going to mix it into. So we'll be basically making about a quart of this stuff. I used to make this stuff in a gallon, and it's easy to make it in a gallon too because you just buy a quart of each of the ingredients and have a gallon container of some kind and pour each of the 4 quarts into that, and then you've made a gallon. And I used to make a gallon up at a time when I was shooting a lot. I would go through that stuff like crazy. In fact, I'd go through more of that than I would body soap. I'd use so much of it. So anyway, we're going to get started. What we're going to do is we're going to take the jar, the container, and we're going to pour in our automatic transmission fluid. And then our kerosene. Our mineral spirits. And then the acetone, I backed the acetone. What the acetone's in it for is to remove plastic. And the reason they put it in it is for shotgun shell wads. The wad material gets stuck in your chokes and leaves a film of plastic on your barrels. This acetone will attack that plastic and help you clean it too. If you're just mixing it up for rifle, you can just mix up these 3 ingredients, the ATF, the kerosene, and the mineral spirits, and call it good enough and not put any acetone in it. The acetone is only if you want to get plastic out. And you can put as much of the acetone in as you want, but don't go over the 1/4 of the amount. I'm going to back this off just a little bit and only put about half the amount of acetone in it. And this stuff, you have to be a little careful. It's really not, it's not something that you want to get on your hands when you're mixing it up. So you have to be a little, like that. You don't want to get it on your hands because it's bad on your liver. So I've kind of got a little bit of the mix off, but that's okay.
Oh my God.
It just affects your liver. It's nothing too, you don't have to worry too much about it. So now and the other important tool to have is a screwdriver, and particularly a red-handled screwdriver. It's imperative that you have a red one because it matches the color of the Eds Red, and red is just super sexy, and that'll help you get these caps off on the container of acetone that you don't want to get on you. See, so like when you flip that up, make sure that cap isn't full and it flips a bunch of that stuff up in your eyeball. That won't work either. So anyway, so a red-handled screwdriver. So now we're at a critical stage. We've got all our stuff mixed into the jar, but before we proceed to the next step, we have to do this. Okay, now we're ready to move on. And so we got to mix this up. And we just shake it up real good. And it's kind of a pretty color when it's all mixed in. It looks kind of like a strawberry daiquiri without ice. And then again, like I've spilled the acetone, see this down here on my bench, so don't get that on your hands. the last ingredient that they call for, the original recipe calls for anhydrous lanolin. And what that stuff does, it makes a preservative or a rust preventative that you can add into the mix. And it's lanolin that, it's lanolin that does the rust preventiveness. So what you do with this is you can use like up to 1 pound per gallon of this stuff. And since we're making about a quart, we could use 1/4 of a pound. That's an awful lot. What I do is I use about a teaspoon of this stuff in like about a quart amount. So I'd squeeze out of the tube, I'd squeeze about a teaspoon into a double boiler, not a broiler. I got corrected about this before. It's a double boiler. If you do it in a double broiler in the oven, it'll help make a hell of a mess. You'll get a fire and it's going to smell like crazy. So a double boiler on the range top, and you melt this down and you can kind of watch the water evaporate out of it. And once you get most of the water gone on the hydrous lanolin, then you can just pour that heated mixture into this concoction and shake it up real good. It helps, if you can, is to try and just heat this mixture just a little bit in the microwave. Get this a little warm before you add the hot lanolin. Mix it together and keep it.
But take the lid off.
But take the lid off. The only reason the videographer that's helping me with this says this stuff is because she knows I won't remember to take the lid off. The rest of you are probably smart enough to realize you got to take the lid off. I wouldn't. But anyway. So that's what that does, and this lanolin, then you'll see it. There'll be like a film or a real fine film or a grease that you leave on your firearm. You can just wipe all the outside, the barrel, the action. You can wipe all that down, and then you can put it right back into your gun case, or put it back into a gun cabinet. And with the lanolin on it, it'll preserve it and help with rust. It's also really good for guys that shoot salt marshes when they duck hunt. Or up around the ocean. The lanolin will help that too. Help protect everything. So that's it. That's Eds Red. I think you should mix some of this stuff up and try it. I think you'll be really surprised at how well it does removing powder residue and carbon deposits. It will not. I will say it will not remove copper from jacketed bullets. If you need to get copper out of your rifling from jacketed bullets, then you'll have to use like sweets or whatever copper solvent. You'll have to buy that. That stuff's full of ammonia, and it will flat clear your sinuses out when you use it. But that's the only way I've come up with getting copper out of rifle bores. But anyway, that's Eds Red. Mix some of it up. Oh, and I'm going to keep going on here a little bit more.
Oh my God.
When you're mixing this, when you get to the point where you've mixed 50% of the automatic transmission fluid
You should just stop.
and the kerosene, when you get to that point, you can set some of that aside, pull some of that out and mix a little bit more for your main Eds Red, but take that 50-50 mix of ATF and kerosene, set that aside, and that makes a really good gun oil on its own. Then you don't have to buy that, crazy gun oil, which is basically a real thinned oil that's been thinned with kerosene anyway. So anyway, that's it. Mix you some Eds Red up. I think you really like it. Thanks.
That's all, folks.